All right, we have a couple things to go over today, and then the rest of the day will just be a work day. Number one, we have to fill out our submission form. I thought we'd filled this out, but that was for my other class. We have a title sequence, and that's what we filled out. All right, so for this one, it's going to be called 3D Titles. The due date will be the Monday we get back, so the 12th. March 12th, 2018. And with this one, we're exploring different ways to animate text using MoGraph and effectors. There's obviously other stuff that we're doing too, but that's the gist of what this assignment is about. And like I've said before, the MoGraph and the effectors are really one of the big draws that people use Cinema 4D for. It's not just, you know, a 3D program because it's a 3D program. The MoGraph and the effectors are really what draw people into it. There's so much stuff that you can do with just those few things. Our learning objectives, we are going to be doing 3 titles. 2 using the provided instructions. And 1 of your choice. We will have a seamless backdrop. So that's what we've created already with the big vignette basically around it. Layers, objects, everything organized and named. And like I said that very first day, a lot of these assignments are geared towards giving you the foundation of the stuff, and then, you know, they're not extensive. We could have taken just one title animation, and we could have really like done an entire assignment just on one of them and taken it really far. But I'd like you to see different options, and I want you to obviously get a chance to play with it so that it's not just like the same thing from everybody. Dun, dun, dun. And that's essentially it there. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So as far as turn-ins go, you will be turning in your project folder with only the essentials. And then only the essentials are your latest scene file and movie. And what I mean by that is I don't want to have all your images, just so you can see how big some of these files get for some of my classes. One of our projects we do in the next class is like a gaming environment, and for this gaming environment,
Wait, that's our next assignment?
no, this is for the next, a different class.
Oh.
Because I have them turn in every single thing, just this one project that they've turned in is like 40 gigs, okay? Because this stuff adds up pretty quick. So for this, you're only going to be turning in your project folder that should have your last scene in it, and then your movie. So I don't want all the rendered images in there, just those 2 things, okay? That makes sense?
So you just want our latest scene file and the movie that we make?
Correct. And I'm going to go through how to make the movie today so you can see that too. All right?
And nothing else that we've done?
Correct. Your movie should be the 3 titles put together. And this will be roughly 6 seconds. Okay, it might be an additional second if you animated something a little bit longer or you did something a little bit more, you know, roughly it's going to be about 6 seconds. All the title sequences that we've done, we basically started them at 0 and gone to 60, so that's 2 seconds for each one of these, okay? So each one will be roughly 6 seconds long, or roughly 6 seconds for the whole thing. Our resolution, just like everything else, is going to be 960 by 540 at 30 frames per second. And then it is worth 10 points. So points possible, 10. Obviously fill out your name so I know whose it is, and your class name and number. That's all the same stuff as before. Cool. Questions on the submission form? No questions. Pretty straightforward. All right. So now I'm going to go through how to put these together so you can see it. Before I close this is actually After Effects. This is a project I'm working on for the next 3D class, which is the modeling. In that class, we focus on doing basically the same stuff we did in here, but taking it another step further, making specialized textures for certain items, gaming assets, product stuff. And so
Is that a Pokeball?
it is a Pokeball. It's a Pokeball that's chained up because he's too dangerous.
I remember seeing some things on YouTube for you creating like a Pokemon rig or something.
Yep, and there's another class where we do a rigging of one, yep. All right, so that's fun. All right, so just like we did with the movies in the mini room, you're going to be using After Effects as your compositing program. You're going to be importing all of your movies into this area. So you just double click into this main window, and then you go and find all of your movies. So all of my movies should be in a titles folder under renders. And then I've organized them so that it's a little bit easier for me to actually see which is which. You could definitely do that after they're rendered out or while they're rendering out. So I'm going to go find my explosion. I make sure that the sequence button is checked here, and then I hit import. And then I'm going to double click again, go find the next one. Here's my rotating one, right there. Make sure the sequence is checked, hit import. Go back to my renders. There's my shatter name.
Are you recording all this?
I am. And then just so you can see the process, regardless of how many of these you have, if you did 3, that's the minimum of the assignment, but if you did 4 or 5 or even 20 of them, the process is still the same, okay? So you just go and import all the ones that you have. You want to check up here and make sure that each one of these is being brought in at 960 by 540 at 30 frames per second. If it's not 960 by 540, I'll show you. Sometimes the default settings in Cinema change it to a bigger size, so I'll show you how to scale it down. If it comes in at a wrong frames per second, you can just right-click on each one and go to Interpret Footage Main and just make sure it's set to 30 frames a second. Okay? My defaults are set to that. I believe all the computers in here's default is 30. If you use your home computer, I don't know what that is. So then once you have all of these laid out, you simply grab all your items and just drag it down to this little colorful icon here, and it'll bring up a window. And this window will basically say, how do you want to import them? We want to make a single composition, we want to sequence the layers, and we don't want any overlap. Okay? And then we hit OK. And what this does is it takes each one of those and it just stacks it one right after the other. So you don't have to worry about laying them out or anything. The process is pretty quick if you do it the way I showed. So then when I hit play, I can see there's one, and then it just jumps to the next one, and then it just jumps to the next one, and then it just jumps to the next one.
I thought we had to do 3.
You do have to do 3. I showed you 4 in case you did 4. In case for whatever reason you wanted to do an extra one, so you learn some more stuff about it. Okay? So there we go. So now my movie is complete. Now let's say one of these did not come in at the right size, or let's say all of them didn't come in at the right size. Under my composition, I would go to composition settings and then make sure that this is set to 960 by 540. So if for some reason it didn't come in at 960 by 540, I have to make sure that it's set to that. And then typically what's going to happen is if it doesn't come in at the right size, this is going to be like zoomed in like this. So then I'm not going to be able to see my whole text because it's going to be too big for that 960 by 540. So I'll hit S on that layer, and then I'll scale it down until the box fits perfectly inside there. Okay? Usually if it's going from 1280 by 720 to 960 by 540, that number I believe is 75%, but you'll just have to check it out and see. Make sure you don't have any like this, any little black borders around it. All right, so once you have all those things laid out, then it's simply a matter of going to export and adding it to your render queue. Going to the word lossless, choosing QuickTime. This is what we've done before. Making sure your format options are set to H.264. If you have a PC at home and you're rendering this on a PC at home, make sure QuickTime's installed, otherwise you don't get the QuickTime option or the H.264 option. Okay, so make sure you have QuickTime if you're using your home one. If you wanted to add audio effects, you could add audio effects and just make sure these are on. Under the output 2, I click the name, and then I put this into the correct folder, 2510, titles, final, Sarcona, titles. And then you hit render. And then this just goes through and actually makes this into an actual QuickTime movie. And you'll see this process obviously can go a lot quicker than rendering it from Cinema. Now once you have all of that stuff done, where's my IP drive? There it is, there it is. You want to check it. Make sure that it looks good. Wonderful. Okay, so mine looks perfect. So now I'm ready to turn this in. So I need to put it onto that Z drive, so I'm going to first copy it to the desktop. I'm going to then go through and delete all the stuff that I don't need. So under my scenes folder, I don't need all the extra scenes that I don't need inside here. So all of these other ones I can delete because that's my last one. Anything that's in my renders folder, I can delete. Anything in my reference folder, not that I have anything, I can delete. Anything in textures folder, again, I don't have anything, I can delete it. So I'm just turning in my title and my scene. And then this is the folder that I'm going to go to the Z drive.
Turning in your last title.
Yep, my last title. Yep, my last title file, which should have all of them in there. And then I will put it inside of the turn in title folder. Just drop that right in there and then done. And then turn in my sheet, obviously, so that I know to grade it. Cool questions on that? No, pretty straightforward.